Do you tell your people work as hard as possible if you want to get somewhere, or do you give them the opportunity to have more of a life-work balance?
I do neither of those things. I work hard.
When you listen to this episode, you will learn how to do and how to become a great salesperson. Blake Janover is our guest today, and he's a self-made person, and he really walked us through the steps and the tips of how to become a great salesperson, how to build a company from nothing and from nowhere with not specific expertise in a particular area and taking it all the way to a public company that he's running. So if you want to learn about sales, if you want to learn about AI, if you want to learn about marketing, that's the one for you. Enjoy. Blake Janover, thank you for being with us. It's really exciting for me. You and I are friends, but not a lot of people get a chance to chat with you, so I'm happy about it. So let's start with the first question. Why did you take the company public? Let's just go straight there,
Hi, Boaz. Nice to see you. Why did I? So I suppose you're talking about the first company I took public, which was Janover, right?
Yes. Is there another one? I didn't know there's two of them. So
I was a principal in another IPO in April, and then obviously we had a change of control transaction in Janover, and that's now Defi Development Corporation earlier this year. So happy to talk.
So I want to step to Janover when you rang the bell at NASDAQ. It
was a lot of fun.
It looked amazing.
Yeah.
So why?
Okay. Well, there's a pretty long journey there. So the short version is it was the best decision at the time with all the information that I had, and reflecting, it's still the case. So before that IPO, I would say in the kind of 2 years leading up to it, I decided that I'm going to take my software company public. This is like a nice goal to have as an entrepreneur, right? Feels like a big box to check. There's certainly ego in that, right? This is obvious. I think people may mistake me using my name in the company as ego, but that's a combination of lack of creativity and social accountability. That part actually doesn't have ego. I don't give enough thought or credit to the name of the company. Anyway, not answering your question. So when we started the raise, or when we started to think about it, interest rates were very low. We were in a business that had fabulous tailwinds. The IPO market was on fire. Valuations were sky high. Companies with what I thought were inferior products, inferior businesses, I would say not comparable management, were raising unbelievable amounts of capital. And I said, well, shoot, this seems like a really nice time to do this exercise. And everybody told me, you can't do it, don't do it, you're too small, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing, which I found to be very encouraging, not a turnoff. So I just kind of read up on it, figured it out, bought in the right advisors, wrote a lot of the S1 myself, and did that exercise. Now, it was brutal. The IPO, the transaction died multiple times over a 2-year period. We almost ran out of money half a dozen times. By the time we got to transaction day, and that story itself is crazy. It was between doing a virtual roadshow in Israel and then closing like plus or minus whatever.
In Israel, why? But you were in NASDAQ. I mean,
yeah.
But okay, so here's okay. So look, the reason I threw us into the deep water with the first question is because I want to start there. There's a whole journey, and we're going to go back.
Okay.
I really want to break down and understand the path. I mean, Unmasked is about the path of a business person, a path of any person, not just a business person, okay? And the kind of like the myth behind what it takes. So there's so many amazing milestones I want to talk about. But the reason why I threw the question about public is I want to understand the state of mind. And it seems to me that you, and please, anything I say, just correct me if I'm not getting it right. You said, look, it was the right time in the right place.
It wasn't.
Interest rates are low. It was not.
Let me interrupt
okay,
you.
So
yeah. Let,
yes,
let me
yeah,
let me interrupt you. You interrupt me. So let me finish my long-winded response, and then you have the guys edit it all out. So at the time,
No, we're gonna leave that part. You know, yeah.
I'm perfectly comfortable having a conversation with an Israeli. At the time that I made the decision, the markets were very, very accommodative. At the time we closed, which was essentially 2 years after making the decision, the markets were an absolute free fall, and we were fairly pregnant, and also the listing was still the best option for capital raising moving forward, and what I thought would be adding an additional mechanism or layer to deliver shareholder value.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's a great point. I wanna stop on that one. So when one takes a long-term view of a major action, like going public, that's just one example, right? You have to think about product to market relationship, right? So when the moment you decided, I'm going to go that way, I'm going to spend the millions of dollars, I'm sure it cost millions of dollars to go public. I know because I've done it on a different scale, smaller than yours. That was the right decision at that moment, right? The reality is that it took longer, or I don't know longer, that's a question for you, but it took a while to make it happen. And therefore, the question is when you were ready, when, like you said, pregnant, then it was a different market.
Different market, still the best deal.
Yeah.
Because when we looked at, so what happened? We were in a product that was pretty much at the intersection of fintech, marketplace, commercial real estate, and debt finance. And all of these markets simultaneously were imploding on themselves. So there was no private market alternative at the time that was anywhere near as good as the public market path that we were already on. But like what the raise was significantly less than what we originally planned. The valuation was significantly less than what we originally planned. It was brutal. The markets were really, really tough.
Yeah, but you already spend the money. That's one of the challenges. You already spend the money on the attorneys. The fixed cost of going public
that's a sunk
was
cost.
gone anyway.
Yeah, but it's a sunk cost, so it didn't matter. So if there was something better that I thought was better for the shareholders, and I say the shareholder thing, just to be clear, it's not like pure altruism. I was the biggest shareholder, right? So this is like an easy thing for me to say. What's best for the shareholders. Harder thing to say if you don't own a lot of a company. And you're supposed to be a steward, but there's like a delta in incentives. But anyway, it was by far the best deal, and there was a lot more than just the money and the valuation. I had the conviction that I was going to be able to hire stars, and I did. I was able to hire Bruce Rosenblum, who had this like incredible track record and became a fabulous CFO.
Because you went public?
Yeah. Yeah, we had this.
Okay.
So we had this credibility now. We're not like a pie in the sky private company where your options may be worth something one day. It's like, hey, like here we are. We're trading on the NASDAQ. We're liquid. Let's build $1 billion business together. It gave us access to acquisitions. We made an acquisition that we would have never had access to before. Opened a lot of doors. And then ultimately ended up being a home run for everybody. So.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, cool. So now let's go back.
Sure.
You grew up in Long Island, am I right?
That like many good Jewish boys in America, yes.
I got you. Okay, perfect. So are you more of a finance guy, debt guy, real estate guy? How did you start the path?
Where I grew up, I was a hacker. I taught myself. So in the 90s, I took all my savings, bought a computer, got a 14.4 modem, bought a book on Borderlands C++, and taught myself to code. And immediately did like all kinds of like hacky, like, stuff.
Barely legal.
Sure, we'll say barely.
Exactly. Okay, so you were fascinated. So that is that deepened the question for me even more. So I ask you if you're real estate or debt. You said I'm actually a tech guy. Is that how you see yourself? Are you a tech guy who dealt with real estate or dealt with finance and debt? Here's another way to ask it. Where is your strength? So, for example, I ran a company for 20 years. I was a real estate developer. Even though I was on boards of banks, I was dealing with finance, I was dealing with entrepreneurship. In my core, if you ask me who I was for myself, I was a real estate guy. That was my mastery. That's how I thought. That's where I came from. So when I ask you, are you seeing yourself, or in the past, did you see yourself more as a tech guy or as a real estate or debt guy?
I do. Okay, so give me a moment to answer. I never saw myself as a real estate or debt guy. I happen to have billions of dollars of transactional experience in that space. The first thing I ever did, my first kind of love, was coding. My first real job was writing trading algorithms for. I was like a quant before quants were a thing, and this like somehow landed me into digital marketing before digital marketing was a thing, and at an early age, it was during the this like real estate boom in the early 2000s, and that's where I was able to translate that into financial outcome for me, and like so some of that experience compounded. But when you ask me like how do I identify, and I know it's not I know that's not a California question like a caterpillar or what have you. I would say, but like, what are my strengths, right? I I think I'm really good at learning very quickly and taking like very complicated, disparate concepts and distilling it into something really simple. And I move really fast. So I think I learn really quickly and move really fast. And when you do that with pretty high integrity, I think outcomes compound. It just so happened that I was just very close to real estate and finance on and off for most of my career, but that's not by design.
Okay, so I want to stay on that question. It's more than just what you're expert in from my perspective. And again, if you disagree, please let me know. It's really about how do you see the world, right? So look, again, to give my own example, I walked into your house if I visited, and without even controlling it, I looked at your kitchen. I would say they probably spend X amount of money on the kitchen. I saw the world through real estate construction.
Is that real estate construction or Jewish construction?
No, it's real estate. So like, or I walked into, I'll give you a different example. I walked into like, whatever, a multifamily, like I visit someone's apartment. Like I saw the world through real estate. So when you were if I followed your life, if you're a young guy, I say, here's this guy who is actually dealing with a lot of debt, like you said, billions of dollars, right? And he's working on those companies that deals with debt. Were you seeing the world through glasses of tech? Were you asking yourself, I can find this solution to this one, I can find a solution to that one through your programming way glasses? Or were you thinking, I'm learning something new, I'm very good, like you said, I'm very good at learning things, I dive in, I get excited about it, I learn it. Walk us through the kind of like the thinking behind how you operated.
Yeah. I see the world through opportunity. I don't look at the world. I don't have I don't have the narrow, deep, predisposition that I think like deep experts like PhDs have and stuff like that. There's like a little bust of Charlie Munger on my desk back there, and he's like one of my heroes, and it's because he had this approach of being this generalist and looking at the world through a lattice work of mental models. And before I knew who he was or what that meant, that's what I always did. So I would go deep on a subject and get like a really good fundamental understanding of it and then do it on the next and the next. And I think that's like a function of also me being super ADHD. But then I get to like combine those things and look at everything. So when I was looking at debt, I could solve a debt deal, but then I was like, well, there's got to be like a way to do this better. Maybe we could have a marketplace. How come all the lender data is disparate? I wonder if we could put it in a spreadsheet. If we could put it in a spreadsheet, could we put it in a, like, how come it's so easy for residential? How do we make, and yeah. So
that's by the way, that's rare. That's a true agnostic spirit. When you here's what I hear in what you're saying. You're saying, look, I'm curious.
Very.
I'm hungry.
Very.
I'm fascinated by learning and experimenting with things. Therefore, whether it's a coffee shop, a factory, fintech, debt, etc., doesn't matter to me. I'm so curious when I see a problem. Here's what I'm putting words in your mouth, but I want to simplify it and underline it. When I see an opportunity, I will be interested in trying to solve that problem. And tomorrow you might open, I don't know, chocolate bar business because that's exciting for you, and you see a problem and a gap in the market. Is that correct?
Insatiable curiosity. You said it better than me. And it just happens to manifest itself, I think, through capitalism or free markets, because that feels like an easy way to kind of like benchmark or like or keep score or something of like how something works relative to something else. So like, for example, my wife and I were at breakfast with the kids in Miami, and this place had like they had this like private club with it's like a membership, kind of like Soho House. And I was like talking to my wife, I'm like, oh, like I've thought about this a million times. Like I wonder if we could like, what if we like buy a house on the beach and we could change the zoning, and then like how many members could we get in, and like what do we charge? And I was like, well, but what if we do like this really cool esoteric kind of like industrial spot like outside of Delray where there's like really good parking and like nobody knows about it, and like how much can we charge, how do we hire, like what do we do, how do we make it better, can we scale this all over the world? And then I have to like slow down and focus, which is always hard, and I have to be like, all right,
a challenge.
Yeah, all right, fine, can't do this. Like get back to focusing on the one thing that you're working on. But yeah, so that's like all the time like that.
Okay. Do you think? And you said a little bit about it. Excuse me. You said a little bit about it earlier, but do you think it's something you developed, or you were always curious?
No, this is like a million questions. When I was a kid, it was a million questions. I didn't leave my parents alone.
Okay, I'm going to ask it differently. If I'm a young person listening to this conversation, do you think it's something I can develop, or is something that either I have? I'm one of those kids that when they get a toy, they take it apart to learn what's behind. They barely play with a toy. They kind of break it and want to see how the mechanics or the digital element or the programming of it works. Or do you think something that I can develop? If I'm someone who's very good at one thing, how do I develop that curiosity, that ability to walk into a restaurant and say, how much are they serving here? What's the cost? What's the membership structure? If it's a coffee shop, if it's debt, if it's fintech.
This is a very difficult question.
Yes, well, that's my job.
You're like that. It's like one of the fundamental questions of our planet, right? Nature or nurture. So I've always had this belief that everything is developable, if that's a word. And also, and I think it's like very cliche, like this kind of like do what you enjoy, but like hard. Like if you're curious about something, then nurture it. I think everybody has like some level of curiosity about something, so I think this is worth nurturing. I think like the developing this lattice work of mental models is something that everybody should do, and that's a function of work ethic, right? But if you don't enjoy it, don't spend your life doing it.
That's a very big point what you're pointing to, because you said, look, it's important to pursue what you're passionate about, but without the work behind it, it's fluff, So I think that the combination with you is like when you get curious, it doesn't end in curiosity. Then what you share with us, you really deep dived and spent substantial amount of time, effort, money, etc., and really learning it and see how it can solve a problem. I think it's the combination of the two, not just being passionate or just working hard.
Yeah, I think like I'm like super lucky in a million different ways, but one of them is that I work a lot, and it's all good. I've gone through periods where I'm reading one or two books a week for like a couple of years, and like this isn't like, it's all good. This isn't work. Like I gravitate towards complexity, because that like satisfies the insatiable curiosity, and also gives a platform to kind of like benchmark performance. But yeah, I'm lucky because it's all kind of like whatever. My job's not easy, but it's easy. the work is kind of easy for me because I just like want to learn as much as I can as fast as I can, and then
Yeah.
and then I want to win because I'm competitive.
Okay. So I hear so far three things. I hear huge curiosity. I hear a substantial amount of work. Okay. And then I hear this drive for winning. Those are the three things that is kind of like a theme through the process, which is really cool. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning. So you started as a hacker,
Yeah,
tech guy,
yeah.
right? But you did get to debt, right? Did you work as a mortgage broker, or what was your exposure to real estate debt?
Well, when I was working as a quant, a buddy of mine bought me like it came to me. He's like, I have a million mortgage leads. I was like, it was like maybe 20 years old. I don't know. And I said, well, what's a mortgage and what's a lead? And he told me what they were, and I was like, oh, like I'll go sell these. And I went and I sold them, and I don't remember what we made, but we made like $10,000 or $5,000. I was like, wow.
That's
Yeah, I was
amazing.
like, oh, this is great money. Why did these guys pay me so much for these mortgage leads? So I went to go get a job there, and yeah, I quickly became like the top guy in their office.
Do you like sales?
I don't like sales, but I'm really, really good at sales. So there were guys in that office that used to work at Stratton Oakman, which is this company that guy Jordan Belfort used to work for from Wolf of Wall Street, and so we were doing like Sell Me Your Pen like before the movie, and they would tease me that like the only guy that's a better salesperson than me was Jordan Belfort, which I found very obnoxious. I was like,
Yeah,
obviously I'm better
exactly.
than
Like
him.
the guy has no integrity, and like it's
Oh, no. It wasn't
I
about
don't,
integrity. I didn't know who he was. I was just like,
yeah.
what do you mean someone's better than me? So I got in that, and then I probably worked there for 6 months, and I was like, I could do what these guys are doing, and I started my own my own thing. Back then I opened up the yellow pages because I didn't know anything about anything. I was a college dropout, and I called every bank in Boca Raton saying, I want to open up a branch of your bank out of my house, and they're like, what are you talking
Who
about?
are you?
Yeah, you can't. What are you, 18? You can't open a branch out of your house. But one guy owned a mortgage brokerage, and he like stayed on the phone for a minute longer, and I was like, I'm gonna make you $100,000 a month, and he was like, okay.
Did you? Okay. There's so many tips. Generally we don't go. Every episode is different, but we don't ask for tips. But I think there's so much gold in what you're saying. I gotta ask you for a few tips. So one is, first of all, when you picked up the phone and call all those banks in the yellow pages, if people know what the yellow pages are, um, were you just driven? Were you just stupid? Were you just like, what's the thing that made you go like, I'm going to work, I'm going to pound that phone until I get results?
Look, I think like the answer to both of your questions is yes, right? And we all know that like ignorance is definitely a superpower in business. It's why somebody can like that's been successful in one industry can enter another and do quite well because they don't know all the like all the pitfalls and there's like a lot of inertia around people that have been in a particular industry for a while. So anyway, yeah, so stupid and ambitious. I think like yeah, like show my dad that I could be more successful than him,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well, thanks for your honesty. It's no, look, it's
By the way, my
I
dad's like
love
my best
that.
friend. So
Yeah.
best
No, even
relationship
if
in the
it,
world.
yeah.
But when you're young and you have a ton
Yeah,
of
but even if
testosterone,
it's not, if it's not, it's amazing that one can be honest enough and say, "Look, actually, part of my drive is to be more successful than my dad." That's a true, honest, beautiful statement. Okay, so what makes a great salesperson? Because you were, right? Even though you didn't like sales, you were a really good salesperson, and someone heard something in the conversation you had and said, "Hey, stay on the phone. Maybe we can do something together." Okay. So, what makes a great salesperson?
confidence and high EQ. And if you don't have high EQ, just more confidence.
Okay. So, unmask it for me. Like
I think
what
like
break those two down for me.
well, I think from like a confidence perspective, I like people are tribal. So in tribal cultures, there are far more members of the tribe than leaders of the tribe. And this applies to everybody, right? So like if somebody comes to me with like very high confidence, like in some space that I'm not like, amazing in, or maybe I'm amazing in it, but they make me feel like they're more amazing in it, I'll follow the person, right? Like, oh, this guy manages a few $billion. Like, let me hear what he has to say. He's got a piece of advice. I'll follow that advice. So I think like people, me, everybody are predisposed to following a leader and somebody that's confident. So if you pick up the phone and you're selling something and you believe in yourself and what you're selling, that translates. It's why like standing up and projecting your voice and wearing a tie and all these like cliche things actually are actually valuable, because they build your self-confidence, and they and that translates over the phone or in person or what have you. So I just think that I think that like I think people have a predisposition to follow if they get the confidence, or they believe that they're that the right person's leading them.
Okay, I gotta pause on this one for a second.
As you wish.
You say confidence is critical, and if you don't have X, you have to just double on the confidence. That's what you said. So, look, overconfident people annoy me, right? So, let's just pause for a second.
Wait.
And you said,
Separate confident and egotistical, cocky, arrogant, condescending, because I think these are different things.
Okay, so confidence in the product, confidence in yourself. What's the thing because some people are great salespeople, they don't really believe. I mean, look at used cars, like the ultimate example of like a really sleazy salesperson. Some of them are really good, right? I don't really believe that they think that this is amazing car they're selling. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't get it. Here's my experience, if I can, and tell me what you think about it. I think it's more the confidence. Yes, absolutely critical, but also it's the ability to not give too much weight to the rejection. I think there's a playfulness around a salesperson, which is unbelievable. They understand it's part of the game, playing, being like hearing the word no. And I think most people that I work with, they hear the word no 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, they just stop. Whether it's in dating or in sales, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Whether it's business and dating, in life and everything, or in building businesses. I think salespeople, great salespeople, have that lightness around the playfulness. It's a game for them because they know the nature that some of them are going to say yes, some of them are going to no. What do you think about that?
So the second part, I think, is like this is a requirement. So it has to be like, I think playfulness is a nice way to think about it. The way I thought about it was like, hurry, if there's a no and you can't overcome it, like hurry up and get there so you can get on to the next thing, because it's just a part of that exercise. I don't agree. Let me not say I don't agree. Like, I think that I'm sticking with my guns on confidence. So I think that like, and confidence in the product, I think, is like less necessary than confident in yourself. I think of some of the best salespeople that have ever worked for me, and some of them didn't even understand the product completely and just absolutely crushed it because they were like compelling and confident. And I'll give you an example. So you talk about like a used car salesman, and I would say that like a really, really good one, an outlier, as in like with anything else, an outlier car salesman can build a multi-billion-dollar business. And
yes,
we know somebody that's done that. And I think that and that's not a function of real estate expertise. It may have developed over time. It may or may not have, I don't know. But that was a function of like confidence in self. And when you've got that confidence and you're willing to get rejected a lot. How do you think I got to my wife? There's a lot. It was just like a lot of rejection until I met her,
yeah.
And then once I met her,
Yeah.
It was a lot of rejection until I, got her to say yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great, perfect. Okay, so back to the story. This friend of yours says, "Hey, sales leads. You said what's leads, what's mortgages. You start selling it. You love the game. You love winning. It sounds to me that's a very major force in your life, which I think most of us who are successful business people recognize it. It's that it's not an ego driven. It's the ability to overcome something like a task, a goal. Then what? Then what happened after that? When you called that mortgage guy, like the guy actually stayed on the phone, did you become a mortgage broker?
Well, yeah. So they gave me a phone, and they were like sell appraisals, and I was like, what's an appraisal? And they're like, just get on the phone and tell the people that they got to pay $100 to find out what their house is worth, and then like if there's like room in there, they can like get a mortgage. We'll give them a quote. Like, okay. So I sold more appraisals by myself than anybody in the company had like ever sold in a month, and I did it in like a week or whatever. And then I started selling more of them, and then I was like, why am I giving these things away? They're all mine now. And then I was like sending deals to other people, and taking a piece of all their deals. And I was like, I don't even know why I need to be in this company. So my father gave me the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I devoured it.
Yes.
And then I said, I'm going to open up a bank, which obviously wasn't the thing I could do. Did that exercise, hired all my friends, worked out of my townhouse at the time, renting a townhouse. We worked, 15, 16 hours a day, slept under the dining room table on the floor. There was like, physical corded phones everywhere, and like big CRT monitors with like tower computers. My whole apartment was full. We kept growing, and we built a company, and then
You think it's necessary to have that? Because founders love the stories of the working from the basement, sleeping a few hours, the whole thing. Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's the way? Is there a way to be successful with what's called now work-life balance? When you I'm not,
it's a real. I hear people talk about this like.
Yeah,
this
and
thing.
people that will look, you and I, I mean, you're younger than me, but you and I come from a different mentality. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe actually it's still there. But when I started my business, there was no work-life balance. There was work. And then you become very successful and you make money, and then you can take vacations.
Wait, you work, sorry, not sorry. You work. You work your ass off, you become incredibly successful, and then you tell people, oh, you should have work-life balance. Look, everything works for me. I only work like 25 minutes a day. I'm on the right?
So you think you have to make it first and then you can talk about work-life balance?
I don't know. I'm teasing. I think that insane work ethic is a competitive advantage. I think speed is a competitive advantage. I think you could still win without those things. And if you want to like increase the probability of having a really good outcome, then it requires you work harder than everyone else. And it also, and then if you could work smarter, then you're even better. But also if you're going to lead people, and you want people to work hard, you have to lead by example. And, that means, working your ass off if you want other people to work their ass off for you. Otherwise you'll have you have mediocre work ethic, and a bunch of other people have mediocre work ethic too. And okay, you've got AI, but so do all the people that are working harder than you. So I don't know, could you be successful, with whatever work-life balance is? Just that concept seems ridiculous to me. I think I live my life, and I work, and I have my family, and I go to the gym, and I read, and sometimes I'm doing more of one thing than another. I try to disconnect from one or the other when I'm doing. I try to do one thing at a time, well, and I'm constantly on a path to kind of get better. And there's periods of time where I'm working, 100 hours a week, and there's periods of time where I'm working 50.
You don't.
Or I'm take a couple days off.
Yeah.
So
you don't believe. Okay, so to simplify, you don't believe in work. You look. I'm not saying you don't believe it. It's the wrong way to say it. You think that there's a necessary need in the beginning, at least, to create what I call momentum. Right, so to create the momentum around your business, one needs to really work harder. And it doesn't matter if it's business or if you want to get into top shape. You can't go to the gym for 20 minutes a day and expect a perfect, muscles and six pack.
Oh no!
It's disconnected from reality. Exactly. No, well, you have to spend more time there. You have to really double down on it. So, what I hear is that you say, look, at least in the beginning, one needs to, if they commit, look, if you don't want to be crazy successful, that's okay also. There's no judgment in this conversation. But if you want to be very successful, you need to work your ass off.
There's like every outcome exists along like a curve or a range of probabilities, and there's levers we can pull to improve or to improve the probabilities of like X, Y, Z outcome happening. So if one's optimizing for like success in business, there's levers you could pull. An easy lever is work. Like how much time I put into a particular project. Another lever is focus. Another lever might be what school you go to, not because of the quality of the education, but because of the quality of the network. There's like all kinds of ways to improve the probabilities of getting to particular outcomes. But like one of the easiest, obvious ones is like, oh, I'm gonna work my ass off. I'll work harder. But like a prerequisite of entrepreneurial success, you and I know this well, is the ability to not just the ability, but like the ability to enthusiastically get back up after getting punched in the face, or kicked in the gut, and like going in knowing that is like a certainty. That it's going to happen again and again over time. And I think that goes to your sales thing also, right? Which is sales, entrepreneurship, whatever. Oh, I'll say something else. The best CEOs of all time are, in my opinion, are really just the best salespeople of all time.
Yes.
This is, you have the confidence, and the confidence manifests itself in raising money, attracting capital, hiring a team, building a product. Steve Jobs, I think, is the best salesperson of all time. Maybe Elon Musk is even better than Steve Jobs. Tim Cook's not, but Tim Cook's not an entrepreneur. Tim Cook is Tim Cook's an operator.
Yeah, exactly. And again, he have grown Apple more than Steve Jobs, but he has not created the foundation.
He couldn't have created Apple.
Next level. Yeah, sales is extremely important to interact with humans. I mean, I think if you break down the sales, is like passing an idea or product to someone else. So whether it's in your romantic relationship, in your business, it sounds to me like that's the core of many, many things, or the foundation of many, many things in life. But I want to ask you one more question about the work-life balance. In your company, what's the culture? Do you tell your people work as hard as possible if you want to get somewhere, or do you give them the opportunity to have more of a life-work balance?
I do neither of those things. I work hard, and I think people see it and they follow my example. I've never had a vacation time rule in my company. I've never had like reporting when you come in or out, but we're an in-office culture mostly. We have like company values and behaviors that we live by. When we use an acronym, which is a little cliche, but this is what we do, and it's CUTE, which is curiosity, urgency, teamwork, integrity, and excellence. And
can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, curiosity, urgency, teamwork, integrity, and excellence. And like a lot of stuff stems from curiosity and urgency, right? But I think it's a fabulous culture. It's like a high performance sports team, and there's a lot of trust. Yeah, and
yeah. And what do you mean when you say there's no vacation policy?
I mean,
one can take as many vacations they want, or
yeah, I've never tracked it, and if I look,
so I can say to you, look, I want to travel. I'm taking a month and a half off work, and you'll be okay with it. Forget about pays or no pays, but let's say
I've never had that experience. But I think that like a person that says that probably isn't a culture fit. But I also think that like if somebody's been with me for years, and they've like proven themselves, and they're like, I'm taking a month off, I'd be like, fine, or like, yeah, like I don't even think I would think twice about it.
Interesting. I force people to take vacations. I had employees that did not take vacation, and I told them that after 3 years they must take the vacation, because first of all, you want to accumulate too much, because we did have policy. Second thing is, I think that it is important to play hard, but also work hard. And if you only work hard, the batteries eventually get drained, and you need to also charge the batteries. You got to take care of your family. You have to take care of because you might be very excited about work, and you come home and you're all thrilled about it, but there's an impact on your kids and your family, on your marriage, and if you don't take care of them too, you will become less of a good, not as good employee in the long term. That was my feel. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but I felt like if they don't take vacations, they're neglecting a different area of their life, and eventually it's gonna. I do care about my employees, but also eventually will damage their performance at work. It sounds like you don't agree with that way of thinking.
No, I think this is like a perfectly valid way to think, and I think
no, we don't. We're exchanging ideas, of course. I'm asking about your company. What you don't care if someone doesn't take vacation because they love work all the time.
It's fine. But
Wow.
like that's how I lived for a long time. So, and I don't think I lived anything wrong. I think I think it's great if you're young and you work 60, 70 hours a week for a decade, and you might burn out, right? I did, and then you might need a few months off, and I think that's fine too. So, yeah, I don't, and then if you're like in my office and you're married, then your spouse will make you go on vacations, and you'll do it from time to time, unless you don't want to, which is none of my business. So yeah, like you got the flexibility and the freedom, and if you're not sure about something, come talk to me and we'll try to figure it out together.
Oh, it's great. Okay, next thing I want to talk to you about. You create a marketplace, right? Janover was basically, if I understand correctly, a marketplace for mortgages, commercial mortgages.
That was how we were born. Yes.
Okay, explain to me what's the transition. So you're born this way, but what did you become?
I mean, a lot. Well, so we started as a marketplace, which is a really, really hard business model. And it's even harder in like a niche of an industry that has very high inertia. So I think like the marketplace has this like chicken egg issue, and they're very hard to do. Once you get them going, they can develop indirect network effects, marketplaces, whereby each new node in the network makes it more valuable to a node on the other side of the network, which is different from like a social network or like telephone network effect, which is a direct network effect, which is like every single node in the network makes the network more valuable to every other node. I digress.
Yep.
So like super hard. And also we were making money transactionally, which was fine. But something like I hope to never do again, because it is not a fun business model. At the end of
So just to simplify it, I was a bank. I gave a mortgage loan, what we call note, to someone. And instead of just looking for someone else, like a pension or insurance company or someone to buy the mortgage, I put it on your platform, and then people can shop around for what terms they're looking for. If I'm looking to buy a note, is that what you guys did?
Close. So like if you're building or buying a property, you could go to your bank, and your bank will or won't give you specific terms. Unlike a residential mortgage, a multifamily or commercial mortgage is like a very idiosyncratic product. It's got all kinds of different features. There's a million different ways you could peel it, unlike a residential mortgage, which like generally fits in a box. So the idea is that you can never have the perfect deal. No matter how good your relationship is with your bank, there's some other lender that does something a little bit different, so it just depends on what you're optimizing for. And there's like 10,000 lenders out there. So our theory was like you're getting this like 2, 5, 10, 25, $50 million loan, like the little things matter a lot. So you could put it on the marketplace and take it to all the lenders that it qualifies for and collect bids, compare the bids, and then pick the right lender.
But doesn't a mortgage broker do that? A commercial mortgage broker, I went to them and said, and they had a relationship with like numerous banks I never heard about.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm looking for this term, looking for this leverage, I'm looking for those things. And I said, okay, I'm shopping around. And then they said, look, don't waste your time with this bank because they're never going to give you that. But there's a bank in the Midwest, and they're really aggressive now in New York. They should do that. So did you create basically a digital or a online mortgage broker?
Yeah. Like so like an online commercial mortgage broker. So like with the individual mortgage broker, you have two challenges. One of them is the principal agent, kind of problem where they're like this lender takes me on ski trips. So like they're great. Their interest rate might be higher, but like you
they pay me more points at the closing, or they
but
take
you
care of
won't
me.
know
Yeah, of
about it
course.
because okay. So
Yes.
so there's always that problem. And I think that's like that a principal agent would be like a good way to classify that. And then the other problem is that like you got a mortgage broker, and like how many lenders can he know about or have relationships with? 10, 5, 20,
Yeah, but
50?
not like five. Like you said, there's 10,000 lenders out there. Yeah.
10,000 lenders, 5,000, let's just like broadly, 5,000 banks, a few thousand credit unions, thousands of other private lenders, debt funds, REITs, life companies. And then there's like in these shops, there's like a dozen, 100, 1,000 different originators that work on different products. One guy doesn't know what the other guy does. So like really amazing opportunity to aggregate an entire marketplace. Think of it like kind of like Etsy, right? Like artisan soap makers around America.
Yeah, or like dating app without geographic location.
Yeah.
Because you can meet someone. I mean, you can take a loan from a company in Nebraska that never, like, you would never hear about it. So it's kind of like almost like a dating app without like, oh, you have to be located, because in dating you have to meet in person, hopefully. So it's a little different, but I think that's the concept. So just to move forward, you started with that, but you're saying you did not end there. That was the beginning idea.
Yeah. So we so later in like 2023, at the end of 2023, after we went public, we bought a B2B SaaS company in the same space, like in kind of like investor management for commercial real estate folks that were raising capital from LPs, because we were like, this is a better business model. And then I would say 6 months later, we pivoted our marketplace business to be a SaaS model. And that was a really positive experience. And before we did that, we also stood up a few other we stood up an insurance business that was like tech enabled, that focuses on commercial property insurance. So we're trying to build like a whole platform solution for the multifamily or commercial property entrepreneur.
And that's what you're already a public company when you did those. Okay, that's very rare. If I understand correctly, because most companies, they're mature enough to go public, so the person who buy the stock knows what they're buying. So it's kind of like if a car company goes public and then decides I'm going to actually build planes, then the person who buys the stock goes like, hold on, I thought you're a car company, now you're buying planes. You're saying it's very interesting to I would love your feedback on it and your take on it, that you created flexibility because the power of going public, because you had the ability to maybe pay with stocks versus paying with cash, because the exposure, you had much more flexibility in a world that is unflexible. Going public is when you kind of know what you do. I make snacks, I make this, So
I don't
tell me more about that. That's amazing.
Thanks, Boaz. I think there's like a lot of kind of like preconceived notions about being public. At the end of the day, well, look, everything did happen up until April. Everything did happen to fit right into the bucket, right? Because I was always talking about building a platform to improve commercial property financing, right? So it's very natural that we provided a SaaS product to other commercial property investors, that we provided an insurance product, that we provided an investor management product. These things fit really well into that concept. But if I wanted to do something totally different, like pivot to a crypto treasury strategy company, like one of the things I did when I went public was make sure that I owned more than 50% of the common stock. I had more than 90% of the vote, and nobody could bully me. So
So it was almost like when you went public, it was a financial vehicle. It was not a traditional way when you say, I'm going to now put my future in the hands of the public and see if they like my stock or not. You said, look, for me, it's just a vehicle to keep on strengthening and pursue what I believe is the right business.
But I don't think that's rare. I think that's common. I think like Facebook, like that's what Mark Zuckerberg did.
Well, but because, okay, let me just, sorry, cut you off, but Facebook, it started actually with the media. They created two-tier stocks until 20 years ago or something. Didn't exist. Yeah. Now all those companies, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg could do whatever he wants because he has a different kind of a stock. If I buy Facebook stock, but that's a new thing. That's not in today's world.
That's been going on. That's been going on for a decade, and I did the same thing. And I think like when you do that, it means that all you're doing is creating a new capital market for yourself to access capital, and you're creating a market for all your shareholders where they can exchange stock and be liquid. And it's like it's a mechanism for growth. And by the way, it's not the perfect mechanism, right? Like the guys at Stripe are choosing to stay private because private markets are very accommodated to them right now. I think like actually for pretty small companies that have a good plan and a good team, I think public markets are like a great path. If you have the stomach for it. Which I do.
Okay, and that's a good point. That's a critical point, because here's my experience, and I want your feedback on it. When I managed a company, I dealt with the balance sheet, with P&L, with investors to some degree, et cetera, et cetera. But it was all about what I did, which in my case, I was a real estate developer, right? Then you go public, and then suddenly there's a whole new world of things you didn't even think about. So there's a crisis in Iran, right? And prices of oil shoot up, or a currency goes down, and suddenly it impacts you. And you have nothing, your business has nothing to do with the Middle East. But suddenly it happens, and suddenly you have to deal with it. That's one thing. The second thing is there's all those, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong word to use, but I would say bottom feeders or whatever. I mean, in the ecosystem, exist that make money from shortening your stock, from creating negative things about it, which in a public company, even if you're big, they don't have the power, because even if they trash you and create those blogs online, they don't get any financial benefit from it because they can't really day trade your stock. Suddenly you're dealing with a whole new world, again, that has nothing to do with it, with people who are actually creating chaos and problems for your company because they want to short it, because they want to trade it. How do you deal with it? And did you deal with it?
Yeah. Well, I guess I dealt with everything. So let me address these things one at a time. And all right, so
you're making notes. That's impressive. Yeah, you're the first guest who made notes in our call, on our podcast.
Elevate your guest profile. No, I'm kidding. Most of your guests have been way cooler than me. Special shout out to Steve Berg, because I think he's fabulous. Okay, so
yes.
Yeah, there's a conflict in Iran, go Israel, and maybe the stock market goes down. Okay. Maybe, and your stock goes down. Okay. Maybe, the Fed says we're going to lower interest rates. Well, then your stock might go up disproportionately as well. So I think like you have to be kind of comfortable with both of these things. From a management perspective, like running different businesses, I think this is just like another business unit. So if you have like a fabulous CFO who's got a ton of experience and like great legal and everything else, you're just managing another business unit. So I think like it's like if you're in the widget business, you open another factory, you open a factory in another country, like you're just managing another unit. So I didn't find this to be burdensome. I was like, I want to sound cool about it. I think I was cool about it. I didn't really. So all my investors, like the people that I cared about, that came and invested before the deal, during the deal, after the deal, were all incredibly supportive. Stock down 80%. Blake, how you doing? No, never, not once did I have.
That's amazing. I got to tell you that one of the most difficult things for me was that I found when people are shortening my bonds for no seen reasons, I took it personally, because I think that the maturity you're showing that I did not have is that you understood it's the name of the game. It's part of it's one more business units to manage. And I said, I got annoyed because I was like, you don't know anything about my business. Why are you shortening it? Now it took me time to learn that that's their business. Their business is to create negative news and then shorten and make a lot of money and dump it and all those things, right? But in the beginning, I used to be like, you don't know anything. You never met with me. You never met me at the roadshow. Why are you shortening I used to get really upset about it. So it's amazing. For you, it was like, that's the name of the game.
Yeah,
fine.
But let me share things that were upsetting for me. So like, so yeah, I think like people talking shit online. Oh, am I allowed to curse? Sorry about that.
Yes, you're allowed to curse. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Here we go. So people, people criticizing me or whatever, I think I broadly didn't listen, and I think I like broadly didn't care. Stock going down a lot. This bothered me a great deal. but only because I knew that like people invested and believed in me. So I felt this like very heavy responsibility. But they were super supportive, so it was okay. I'll tell you the part that's like not like for me, like the only part that's not fun is the good folks, no disrespect, guys, you're fabulous at the SEC, and like this is like the level of disclosure required is okay. It's just that like there's so much ambiguity in the repercussions of like even making a mistake or like a clerical error or something like that. That part's not fun. Um, but if you have like, you know, great lawyers, great CFO, you can mitigate most of that. So like, that's the only part of it because
The bureaucracy part of it, you'd say, and the weight of the
the
bureaucracy.
oversight is so broad and repercussions for things that might even be that you might think are insignificant or immaterial. Like these repercussions can be like incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
For like a mistake, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a mistake. It could be classified as a mistake, right? Like maybe you think you did the right thing and then they disagreed, and and look, there's need for regulation from bad actors, but I think regulation goes like a little bit too far in some places, and that part's not fun.
Okay, cool. Okay, I have two more things, if you don't mind. One is there's a question I'd like to ask because I keep on hearing different answers, and I know that you deal with AI you deal with AI platform. So I want you to address two things. One is, what is the impact on your business because of AI currently? And as someone who talks often about the future, how do you see your industry will change? Specifically, the industry will change because of machine learning and AI and everything is happening.
The current impact is significant. And that's just like every employee is more productive. But you know things that we built early on before anybody was doing it, right? Like so we had inbound sales and service and AI over the phone and chat and email and text and answering complicated questions and like working inside our CRM, doing all kinds of like fabulous stuff and helping us with analysis and we've always been like early adopters and early builders. We built a lot of stuff and licensed it out to some big company. So it's been like transformational. It's been transformational to me personally. I'll open up is it O3 right now? I think it's like GPT-O3 Pro. I'll open up GPT-O3 Pro in the morning and I'll like open up like 15 chats and send like, a dozen inquiries about like all the things that I'm thinking about and want to solve. And it's like having a dozen PhDs working for me simultaneously. So it's like a lot of fun. Future in my industry. I don't know. I think like,
are you going to be obsolete, you think? Like mortgage brokers, maybe not you, but you think mortgage brokers going to be obsolete?
I think are humans going to be obsolete?
I got you. So you think it's not just specific. It might start in one area, but
I was listening to a great conversation, and it was this guy that wrote this paper. It's a fabulous paper. I think it was like AI 27 or like AI in 2027, something like this. It was a former OpenAI guy. I encourage like everybody to read it. I'll send you a link.
Yeah. Send it. We'll put it in the note of the show. Yeah.
So the guy that wrote this was doing an interview with Ian Bremer, if I say his name right, and Ian goes, "So, tell me this. My kids are going to school, and in the past, I told them that they should study programming and learning to program and code. But now with the advent of like what may be AGI or like even ASI, what should my daughter study?" And he laughed and he's like, "The aliens are coming in spaceships to Earth and you're asking me what your daughter should study." So I don't know how, like there is a more than a non-zero sum chance that like it's like everything is just totally inside out and way beyond anything we understand really soon.
We had a conversation with Daniel Rowe, one of our guests a few weeks ago, who is a futurist, and he really talks about like the morality and AI. And I asked him the same question without knowing about this article. And he said a few years ago, I would push my kids to study professions. But here's what I've learned, and I hear it often now. And my take is, one is you learn to work hard. You teach your kids to work. It doesn't matter what they're going to learn, or doesn't matter as much what they're going to learn. But the fact that they work very hard is critical, is because it's going to keep on going. So whatever, if it's going to be passions, you don't have to, whatever it is, that's one thing. The second thing, I think the personal connection is becoming more and more important. I think the human interaction between humans, not between machines and humans, is becoming more and more critical. So I think that's where might be the next chapter for us to explore. Less technicality and less, but that's how I feel about it. So what do you think is going to happen to your industry in 2027?
I know you want me to answer this, so let me think about it.
No, I'm asking, I'll tell you why, because you're a very curious person. We spoke a lot about curiosity. You also always look for the next venture. And to some degree, you're wrapping up this chapter of your life, right? Your company was bought, big part of it, you're still sitting on, you're not CEO, active CEO in the company anymore, as far as I understand. So you probably are walking around either looking to open maybe like a club in Miami, like you said there in the beginning conversation, but also you also like, here's what another problem I want to address. So you probably are quite occupied by those thoughts. That's why I'm asking you this question. Keep on pushing.
No, I appreciate it. So I don't have a view on what happens in this industry or any particular industry. I probably have a view on like which industries get absolutely turned inside out first. And because I think,
which are the top three, you think?
Anything with level 1 sales or customer service, any call center operation or anything like that, digital advertising, anything digital advertising related. And then number 3 would be every other industry in the world. So
I think number 3 will be medical.
In what way?
Well, but that again, just from everything I'm
like
reading,
doctor, like you mean like disintermediate doctors?
No, like surge, like research, like medicine, like you won't need 15 years to get some first level of approval of a medicine. I think that's going to be completely different for us, and customization also. One of the tailoring if you deal with cancer, tailoring the treatment to you specifically, the age you are, where you live. I think that's going to be, the more I read about it, the more I realize how machine learning will completely transform that world from a process of years and years and resources all the way to like push of a button. Here's what you need. Here's the 10,000, 100,000 researchers in the world who works on this problem specifically. One of them is in Vietnam, the other one is in India, the third one is in Israel, the fourth one is in Berlin. So I think that's going to be.
Well, actually, okay. So I have an answer for number 3, because my number 3 answer isn't medical, though. I think like AI AI can change an industry very, very fast. The problem is that there's a regulatory framework all around it that will slow down progress, because that's what regulatory frameworks do. So that like the amount of time to disrupt might be like very short, but the amount of time to get that disruption into our hands might be very long. I'll tell you the place where it's actually probably one where AI innovation is the thing that AI is going to disrupt first, and that's AI developers. So it's the scientists at OpenAI and Anthropic that are writing the code to build the next model. The code that they're writing is for the model to build the next model. And that's so scary. So it's coming back to your original question, like, I don't have a view on my industry. So like from like what AI can do, because what AI might do over the next 24 months is so broadly and insanely disruptive that like there's no way to think about it, because we don't have a framework with which to think about it. So the way I think about it is like stay on the cutting edge as much as I can, and keep running fast and learning as much as I can as I go.
Yeah, I think there's a theme to this conversation we had, which is stay curious. I think that's the ongoing. So, okay, last thing was maybe old school conversation, but it seems to be like it's not seems to me. You know, like you're a true self-made person.
Thank you.
Every stop on your path so far, and it's not, I don't think it's going to change, has someone who you got curious, you got into it. Speaking to someone who's younger than you, not as successful as you are, what are major milestones of things you picked up on the way? So nothing that happened to you personally, but like a book or a meeting or something like, look, here's the things that really kind of shifted, expanded my way of thinking as someone who's self-taught and self-made, because it's, both you and I think are self-made to some degree. And if no one taught us, or the only people that taught us were ourselves. We found the resources. Now, of course, it's books of others. But so, what will be like 3 things that you like? That was a milestone for me. I expanded my ability, I expanded my knowledge in that moment when I got exposed to that.
Yeah, I'm writing this down because I have like a few like huge realizations. So I'll tell you my 3. So this is a really nice question. So here's my 3 realizations. First, there was this realization. I was so arrogant, Boaz, as you can imagine.
You're a good salesperson.
I got a used car that you can buy. I actually have a used golf cart if you're interested.
Yeah, sure. I need it in New York City. That's exactly.
So the first thing was, after like some really, really cool successes and followed by unbelievable failures, it was this idea that I can learn from others, which I didn't. I was just a lone wolf, right? I just did everything by myself. I only relied on myself. So there was this idea that I can learn from others, and the place that I found that was in books, and that changed my life. So that was one thing that was totally transformative, and I started reading biographies and things like that, and that like just took me down this path of learning from others, and I ended up with a mentor and a coach. I remember a guy told me, he goes, "You should have a coach. Do you have a coach?" And I said, "Well, I'm with a coach." And he goes, "Michael Jordan has a coach." And I said, "Well, if Michael Jordan has a coach, maybe I should have a coach too." So that idea of learning from others was fabulous, and it wasn't that I needed to change my opinion. I just needed to have a strong opinion, just loosely held, and I could collect all the information and synthesize it, and still come up with my own opinion. But like all these people have these different perspectives, and experiences. It just blew my mind. Okay, so that was one. Number 2 was the power of relationships. So I grew up thinking, I can't really like trust everybody. This is like from family history, do everything by myself, do all my deals online. Why talk to people? Why go to a meeting? I thought it was absurd. It seemed like so inefficient. You could just like send 3,000 emails a day. Like, why would you get on the phone with somebody? Why would you go to lunch with somebody? It just seemed absurd. I joined, YPO. That like changed everything.
YPO is a young president organization. It's a network of CEOs and founders around the world.
Absolutely changed and transformed my life.
Both you and I belong, too.
Yeah, and you were one of the people that touched us. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll edit this part out, but thank you.
Yeah, I'm not saying where you touched me. And the third thing. And
we leave this one. Yeah, and the third thing. It
was this book, The Big Leap, that I read, where it was like
The Big Leap.
Yeah, by Gay Hendricks. It was this idea that I was the creator of my own upper limits, and this idea that I could like self-sabotage myself, and this concept of like zone of excellence versus zone of genius, and it actually introduced me to like self-improvement or like self-help. Which is something that I teased and laughed at friends about that like did stuff like that. And then I read the book and I was like, oh, there's room for improvement here. Yeah. So that's it.
Amazing, amazing. Blake, thank you. What a great hour together. And here's what I like so much about it, beyond the fact that it's a fascinating story, is you really unmask. There's something very honest and intimate always when I talk to you about. So it's really extraordinary. So thank you for your time. It's been amazing. Thank you.
You're the
you.
best.
Appreciate
And I'm
it.
like a fully, no, I'm super honored that you asked me to come on the show. I really, really am. So thank you,
course.
Boaz.
Playbook. What is luck? Someone told me a long time ago that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And that's where, so a lot of us say, oh, I'm so lucky because I got this one. Or the other way around, actually, when you meet someone and said, oh, they were just so lucky because they met that big investor or they were at the right market at the right time and that's why they're so successful. So again, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I had a friend many, many years ago, and she was in her 20s and she was an actress. And she was waiting tables like many actors in New York. And she served this very big agent, and he looked at her and he said, come to my office. I want you to audition for this role I'm thinking about. And within 2 months, she was in a huge Hollywood movie. Now, being an actor myself in my 20s, I was very jealous that, oh, she was so lucky. She waited tables on the right person on the right time, and that's what she made it. Not exactly. She was prepared. She was well-trained actress. She had what's called a reel, things that showed her professional background and how she got to where she is. And she was ready in the right moment. So when opportunity made preparation, she got the breakthrough. So I'm asking you the question today: where can you create your own luck? Are you really prepared enough? If I ask you a question about your business, about your idea, about your art, about your things, do you know the answer? Are you prepared to answer what I'm asking for? Are you prepared to give me a PowerPoint or presentation that can really explain what you're up to, what you're excited about? That's the preparation part. So you have to be constantly working on being prepared. Prepared for any question, for any opportunity. So that's one thing. Preparation is one part of it. The other thing is opportunity. Are you creating enough opportunities? When was the last time you went to a networking event? When was the last time you looked for opportunities? You have to, on a daily basis, look for opportunities, whether it's reaching out through emails, whether you're going to network events and social events. You never know who's going to sit next to you. You never know who you're going to talk to. You meet someone and they're going to say, oh, you have to talk to this cousin of mine who's very successful and wants to invest in what you're dealing with. So again, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Make sure you have a lot of opportunities on your plate, that you're creating opportunities every day, and that when that moment comes, you 100% prepare. That's Playbook.